Welcome back to Good Better Broker as we bring in Cory Bowman. She is a mortgage loan originator with Grow Mortgage based in Denver, Colorado. Cory, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. And a bit about you for our audience. Over 28 years in the business now. Yeah. Many of them spent on the operations and underwriting side, and you are also a former retail LO. And Cory, you and I have talked a few different times over the years, and every time I listen to you, it's surprising to me that you've only been an originator for 5 or 6 years of that time, because you just have this great way about you when it comes to talking with people, and that plays into what we're going to get into in this discussion. And that's the way that you like to make your clients feel. Your goal, Cory, is to leave your interaction with your borrowers making them feel like you truly care about them. Why is that so important to the success of your business?
Because it's the truth. And I think the best things in all business relationships, actually personal relationships too, is when it's authentic and you're telling the truth. And I genuinely do care. I'm at a wonderful season in my life that I don't have to be doing this anymore. I could be done. But I can't imagine my life without it, and it adds so much value. Just doing the numbers, just making the money, which is all great, is not what brings me joy. That's not why I do this every single day. It is for those relationships and meeting these people. So I built my business around it.
I mentioned this in your intro that you've only been originating for a handful of years. But when you think about that, and I know that the experience that you got in ops and in underwriting is invaluable to what it is you do now. But when you look back on that, do you ever think to yourself, I love working with people so much. I love being able to guide these borrowers through the loan process as an LO. Why didn't I do that sooner?
I'm smiling because that gives me so much credit, because I didn't come to the sales side to guide the borrowers, because when I was on the operations side, it was running banks as an underwriter. I actually worked as an LOA before I came over to sales so that I could learn the business. And really what was going through my mind is, these guys are making this way too hard. These loan officers are making this way too hard. If you know your product, you can do this. But what I was doing all that time in operations was guiding our sales force, because I was always very sales oriented. It's the same thing when you're working with the buyers or with people that are refinancing, whoever your client is. It's guiding them to the path of least resistance, and you should have some fun along the way. So it wasn't that big of a transition because I'm doing exactly the same thing. My audience just changed.
You told me when we were speaking prior to the interview that you don't wait to let your clients know that you like them. And when you said that, it kind of reminded me of when you're first dating somebody, right? And you're trying to play it cool and not, give away too much at first and let them know how much you may like somebody, even if you do. But for you, Cory, there's no hesitation. Why is that?
Well, I think that's the exact example I gave you, that even when I'm mentoring other loan officers, that's what I tell them. Remember back when you were dating. And I've been married 30 years now, so it's been a long time, but I can remember it. It's so all of us, all human beings, want to be seen, and we want to be heard, and we want to know that we matter. So what I had told you is, if I really liked a guy, I didn't wait for him to discover me, or I made sure that I was the places he was going to be, made sure we had stuff in common. And it's a mutual, it's a reciprocity. Same thing with my clients. I want them to know I'm working with you because I really want to help you. And I genuinely care about what you're trying to make happen. And I'm invested in making that happen for you too. And I only work with people that I like. I mean, it's not uncommon at all, and I know a lot of loan officers have this experience, that you end up becoming friends or friendly with the people you're working with, because law of attraction, I tend to attract those people that are more high energy, and we're going to have this great experience together. So why not tell them? I do like them. I want to help them. I want them to know this is not just a job.
So much of what it is originators do for a living comes down to communication. Mm-hmm. And you make this very clear from the start of your interactions with your clients that you care about how they prefer to be communicated with.
Correct.
Tell us about that.
I think it's so important. Again, just like we all want to be seen and heard, we want people to meet us where we're at as well. And part of my expertise, or what I'm known for, is a great client experience. To give a great client experience, I have to make sure that I'm delivering the information in the way that they want. So one of my first questions is always, how would you like to be communicated with? A lot of people, it's text, email for some people, but I know a lot of people never check their email. So why would I be emailing them? They're never going to see what I'm sending them. And some people really still like a phone call. I find it to be somewhat generational. But I also share with them how I like to be communicated with. Because I don't want somebody calling me when I know I've got an afternoon of meetings. I know I can jump on it. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm multitasking. I can jump on a text. I can jump on an email. So I will meet them where they are, but then I also teach them the best way to communicate with me. And I do that with my realtor partners as well.
And that sets you up for success, right? Because
Absolutely.
As you said, if you are in the middle of something and they call you and you don't answer, they may think to themselves, oh, Cory doesn't have time for me. But you clearly relayed to them from the start, hey, best way to get in touch with me, if you really need me, shoot me a text.
Absolutely. And we've all worked with people that say, always answer your phone, always answer your phone. Matt Ishbia's, always answer your phone. You don't miss a call. I love when I call UWM and I know somebody's diving over the table to get my call. So I appreciate it. That's meeting me where I'm at. But because of the client experience I give, I will never interrupt a client or a realtor and say, hey, I got to take this call. Because I want them to know, just like you're giving me your full attention right now, I want to give that to them. I want them to know they're the most important thing that's happening right then. But the reality is business still happens. You can't take an hour at a time to be with each person. So I can text and I can email. But if I'm having a conversation with somebody, my phone is turned face down.
You mentioned this a couple of minutes ago, that what you're really known for is the client experience. So
Correct.
how do you overall, Cory, set the client experience up for success?
It's a cliche, and I'm sure everybody that's in this chair with you says it's communication, but it really is. It's so important, again, back to dating, set up the clear expectations. In this relationship with a client, I will let them know what to expect from the whole process, what to expect from me, what I expect from them, because it's fine to tell people what you need from them. I will always tell them, what can I do for you? But then I'm going to give an ask back. And I think that, again, it's just authentic. As long as people know, an example would be the documentation. I used to work for somebody and he'd say, you know what, this is not going to be quite as painful as going to the dentist, but almost. And I thought, why in the world would you tell your clients that? Because what you're putting in their head is this is going to be a painful experience. This can be awful. I just have to do it. That is not how it should be, and it's not how it is with me. But I will tell them, the reason I'm asking you for 2 W-2s, 2 pay stubs, and your bank statements, I tell them often, have you ever watched the Property Brothers show? And most people say yes. And I said, it's painful for me to watch. It makes me so sad for those people on the show that they're taken to this home, and I know it's the gimmick, but they're taken to this home and they're like, oh, no, this is several $1 million. You could never afford this. I never want my client, and I also don't want my realtor partners walking into a home that those buyers can't afford. So I tell them the benefit of it. This is why I'm asking you for this. It should be simple. It's all the stuff you get for your taxes. And this is the reason why. It's going to set you up for success. And then when they're under contract, there's very little that we need. And when you exceed people's expectations because you told them what to expect, and then you blow that away, why wouldn't they want to continue working with you and referring all their friends?
The fact that you're bringing up things like income and assets early on in the process, how much of your underwriting experience helps with that?
It helps a lot. And that's somewhat my niche or my brand, or initially it was my brand. I knew, just like I said, I was watching my salespeople and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're making this so hard. It's not that hard. It is what I bring to the table. But I also am not just an underwriter. I'm very sales oriented. But I will tell people that is part of our initial discovery call. I was an underwriter for 20 years. I ran banks. I'm going to get you to the finish line. but I'm going to ask you for these things and use that. I'm going to leverage that underwriting experience because I'm pre-underwriting your file. You will find we have very few conditions at the end. And the realtors love knowing that as well, because I think people think the underwriter is like this mysterious person and we don't know what magic they're doing. And it's like, no, I've got that secret up here. And then when they learn as we go through, there is no magic secret. It's just common sense. But I think it gives credibility to our transaction from the beginning that they know I've got them. I'm going to take care of this. Don't worry about that magic because we've got it. We're all in on the secret.
We talked earlier about the different methods of communication between you and the borrower. I want to ask you now about frequency of communication because you, Cory, are high touch with your clients, and that is by design.
Correct. Frequency of communication is also part of that question when I ask, how do you prefer to be communicated with? How often do you want to be communicated with? Because if I'm working with somebody, and I'm going to stereotype here, but it's usually true. If I'm working with an engineer, they're normally very analytical. They want to know a lot about the process. But once they've got it, they're like, you got this. I don't want you calling and texting me all the time. I have realtors like that. I do a lot of status updates, and they're like, I don't want to watch your videos. I can't take that personally because I'm like, oh, I put a lot of time into that. But then I have borrowers that'll say, I do need you to call me all the time. And I will address it as we're all wired differently. And I tell them up front, I am built that if you don't give me information, my brain is going to fill in what I think is happening. And it's usually going to spiral downwards. And I never want that for my clients or my realtor partners. So I tell them, I'm going to err on the side of over communicating, but you let me know if it's too much. Say, Cory, I got it. So I am very high touch, and the majority of my clients, again, the law of attraction, the majority of my clients and realtors want that because that's why we're working together, but there's some that aren't, and they maybe don't get as high touch of an experience, but they're going to get a text from me. So in answer to your question, how often I'm touching the file, or not the file, the clients in communication, at least twice a week. And if you have a pre-approval with me, you're hearing from me every Thursday. Where are you going to look? What information can I pull for you? Don't wait till this weekend. Let's get this done for you. So it's quite a bit.
And that to me just ties back to what you mentioned earlier about expectations. You know, things aren't always going to go as planned. I mean, this is the mortgage business.
Okay.
You know, we get thrown curveballs, you know that. But if you lay out the expectations clearly, you're setting yourself up for success and the client to know exactly what's coming their way.
Absolutely. And you're giving them a roadmap almost. When you're saying, here's the expectations, you're also telling them, here's where we are, here's where we're going. And when that curveball happens, oftentimes they don't even know because the other things I told them are going to happen are happening. And it gives me time to, if I'm doing my job right, I will always communicate if something went sideways, but it might be fixed before it becomes an issue.
You are big on listening to your borrowers and not just their questions about something that may be happening during the process. You are looking for little breadcrumbs about things they may like, interests they may have. And that brings me to my next question about what you're doing for them at different touch points in terms of the touches that really are going to make them remember you after the transaction is done.
Gotcha. When I formulated what my process would be and the disciplines I was going to follow, part of it was I wanted a wow factor. I wanted working with Cory Bowman to be different than working with anyone else. Part of that is we already discussed how important authenticity is to me. It's one of my top values, and how important the relationship is. So back to when you say, thank you for pointing out that I really listen because I work hard on that. That's how you build a relationship. You have to be listening to people. So I don't have a standard thing I do as far as gifting. It depends on the client. So when you and I were talking, I told you, when I have clients, maybe they have 3 or 4 kids at home and they're having to clean their house all the time so that they can get their home listed. I know they're exhausted. I'm working on their purchase. I let them know, and thanks to UWM, my average CTC is 3 days. So normally, they're still worrying about all the other things they have going on. So when I call them and let them know, hey, we're approved with conditions, you don't even have to get me another thing. All I've got left are title and appraisal. Those aren't you. Why don't you take the kids to a movie? Check your email. I just sent you guys, a gift certificate to go to the AMC. Go pick out a movie. At a realtor just this last week, you don't even know this part, this story, but at a realtor who would always talk to me about his mom. She was failing in health, and he would talk about his memories of her were always that she was playing bridge and with family, with friends. And he goes, I wish I would have taken the time to learn bridge. So I just went on Amazon and found how to play bridge for dummies, or the equivalent, overnighted it to him. And when he called and thanked me, I had no way of knowing, but his mom had passed the night before. It's going to make me cry. But he said, your gift meant so much to me because I'm going to learn to play bridge. And I said, what are you doing a month from now on Monday, whatever day it was? And he says, I don't know. What am I doing? And I said, I'm going to come over, grab your wife, and bring in my husband, and we're all going to learn to play bridge together. So the gift was listening to him. The gift was delivering something that I thought would be nostalgic. I had no idea what was going to happen. And then the gift is also time to use it. So you just need to listen to those cues.
It's an amazing story, and it speaks to just the level of personalization and the care, too. The fact that you truly are invested in your clients and you're doing this for the right reasons. So, kudos to you for that. One other gift-related item I do want to cover with you, because I think this is so smart, and you told me about this previously. When you get that CTC, you're ordering boxes and packing tape for your clients.
We do that, and so I let them know that, hey, congratulations, we're clear to close. Just want you to know, check your doorstep, because in a couple of hours, you're going to have boxes that you can pack in. You're going to have packing tape. I'm also emailing you right now a list of the things you might want to think of as you're moving. And I copy the realtor on that so they know this is being done for them.
It's just so smart, and it's not like a heavy lift, but those are those little things that are going to make them remember you and hopefully refer you out to their family and friends. I want to switch gears now to talk about the follow-up, Cory, because you do so much during the transaction. What do you do to keep the relationship going after the loan is closed?
This to me is really the meat and potatoes of what we do. And I shared with you, I'm trying to get better at this too. When we get busy, it's so easy. I mean, even as soon as a transaction closes, it's like, okay, I'm on the next one. I've got these ones that are going. But if you're truly seeing and hearing and building a relationship with these people, you can't never talk to them again. So as soon as a loan is clear to close, even before it closes, I set a task to call them. I'm going to call you in 7 days. I'm going to call you a month from now, and I'm going to call you 3 months from now. And then I just set it up in perpetuity. I can't call everyone, but on the days that those reminders come up for me, I can pick and choose from them. I go on Facebook or Instagram, see what has been going on with them so that I can follow up and say, hey, I know when we closed this loan, little Janie was only 3 years old. Oh my gosh, I can't even believe that she's going into middle school. How are you dealing with that? So it informs the conversation. But the reason I do that, it's not just for the referrals, although that's a big part of it. I always want to stay top of mind. But it's also, I don't want to forget that this is a business about people, and I don't want to forget my people. I don't want to forget who's helped me build this business. And then sometimes they refer people to me. But when we close a loan and we go through that whole process, it's a job interview. It's a job interview with the realtor because I want their future business. It's a job interview with the listing agent because I'm showing them what I can do, and now I want his or her business too. And it's a job interview for my clients because they may not have known me beforehand. And I'm proving to them that I've got them. But who goes to a job interview and gets the job and then never does the work or the follow-up? So really that first transaction, that's just the beginning of it. Why would you not do the follow-up?
And you have data on why this all matters so much. Tell me about what you did and what you discovered.
I think it's very important for every loan officer out there to be keeping track of a few simple things. And I know everybody's like, what's the best CRM? How do I do this? even if you're writing this in a spreadsheet or you're putting on your calendar and you follow up and you go back and look at it, you should know at a minimum how you got a deal. Was it a realtor referral? Was it a past client referral? Is this family and friends? Was this somebody I knew at the coffee shop? You should know not only where that loan came from, but where did you make that referral source? So if it's a realtor, you want to know, okay, I met this realtor several years ago. They've sent me some business. Or maybe it's a realtor I met at a networking event a year ago, and this is the first time that they've reached out to me. The reason this is so important to track that is I looked back recently over the last 24 months to see where my business is coming from. And if you're only following somebody else's plan on how to do business and not tailoring it to yourself, you may not know where that business is coming from. We're told, make realtor relationships, go have coffee with realtors. I don't have coffee with anybody. That's part of my self-awareness. I don't like going to have coffee with people. I don't drink coffee, and I feel like it's fake. So, but I looked at the data, and over the last 24 months, 40% of my business came from past client referrals, probably because of all this follow-up. I hope so. 35% came from realtors, the rest came from somewhere else. But without digging into that data, which is simple for any LO to do, you don't know where to spend your time. So why would I go have coffee and cold call realtors, which is not my thing anyway, when that's not where the majority of my business comes from? I need to pay attention to building realtor relationships. But if 40% of my business in the last 24 months came from referrals, then I sure better be taking care of my database.
I mean, you said it, but the words that come to mind for me, just listening to what you just said, is self-awareness. You know yourself, but you also know your business, and the fact that you went the extra step to really dig into the data and find out what was working so well just speaks volumes about you and the success that you're having. I want to ask you for your message now to our audience for other LOs, because you clearly do things your way, and you know yourself. Correct. You know what works for you, and you know what's in your heart. In so much of what you do, Cory, and just listening to you talk, it's just straight from the heart, which is so great, so admirable. But if you were to offer up some advice to others on how they can try and make their own Cory Bowman-esque experience and make their clients, their referral partners feel special, what would you tell them?
I think you hit the nail on the head. And I tell LOs that I mentor, even though I've only been doing this 5 or 6 years, I mentor many people. And that's the number one question. There is no Cory Bowman-esque experience guidebook. And why in the world would you want to make your business the same as mine? I hope that people can learn from what I'm doing. But I shared with you, I work with some people that think my business model is ridiculous. They would never do that. That's not who they are. And that's also not the clients that they attract. So if you're trying to build your blueprint of success for yourself, and also, Matt talks about this all the time. If you aren't thinking about your process and your blueprint, what are your daily disciplines? If you don't know what you're going to be doing every day, then you don't have a process, and how can you improve on it? I mean, you have to know where you're at to know where you're going. We all know that. But if you have to know where you're at, you need to know who you are. I just shared kind of flippantly, I won't go have coffee with people. I don't like it. Some of my peers, that is their greatest source of business. And that's what gives them joy. They love meeting new people, and they like coffee, and they like coffee shops and stuff. My business model would never work for them. So if you're trying to build your Cory Bowman-esque business, that keeps making me smile, you need to know, in your case, what is the Justin White business? What is John Smith's business? You have to put it together for who you truly are so that you can be authentic, for your ideal client you're trying to attract, for the realtors you enjoy working with. And then once you have it built, you never stop improving on it. Dig into that data. What is really working? Where should I be focusing my efforts? And you and I talked about always be learning, always be curious. There are so many amazing things coming down the pike in this industry. And if you're not already learning about, you should be excited every single day. And if you're not excited about what you're doing and what you're doing, if you start talk with my hands, if you're not excited, then what the heck are you doing? Go do something else, or make this job what it should be for you, so that it brings you joy. That's everything to me.
Well, it's clear that it brings you a lot of joy, and it's clear that this is much more than a job for you. It's a big part of who you are, and you do such a great job of articulating how much this all means to you. And I know that our listeners appreciate the fact that you took the time out of your day to share that. No, by the way, tip of the cap to you. You talked about always learning. You're out here for Advanced Social Media Success Track. So, Cory, once again, backing up what she says, she's out here walking the walk by continuing to add new things to her arsenal. So we appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining us. Cory Bowman with Grow Mortgage. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Good Better Broker and helping us support independent mortgage brokers everywhere. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to be notified about new videos, as well as your preferred podcast platform for a new episode every other Tuesday.